Welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Tonight on the program, we examine the freshly signed into law 2026 Electoral Act, signed by President Ahmed Tinubu. The president's assent came hours after both chambers of the National Assembly harmonized the positions of certain sections of the bill that have become controversial, especially with regards to Section 60, subsection 3 of the amendment bill. The amendment, particularly the Nigerian Senate's caveat on real-time transmission of election results, has sparked protests in Abuja, with criticism from civil society groups, political party players, and Nigerians alike. Demonstrators took their concerns directly to the gates of the National Assembly, warning that changes could weaken transparency of Nigerian elections. Tonight, we'll get to speak to someone who understands a lot more about Nigeria's democracy, the political game involved in the electoral process itself, as well as what this current situation means for Nigerians going into the much anticipated 2027 general election. And we'll be speaking with a former chairman of the Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Chief Peter Ameh, an electoral reform advocate, a politician, and someone with a dog in this particular fight. Chief, good to see you again. Thank you so much for stopping by.
To meet you.
I have to ask, what's the plan here? Because you're looking less chiefy these days.
The plan is to be able to be fit enough to protest actively against this government that has brazenly decided that they will undermine our democratic trust. Yeah. That is the plan.
Some would say then maybe we should give the Tinubu administration kudos for making you,
we can't give them kudos. We should give the Constitution that has empowered us the opportunity, the freedom, the Section 40, 39, and 41, freedom of association, freedom of movement, that I rely upon, to continue to advocate for a better society. We should continue to, strengthen that, because the Tinubu administration have not done anything to strengthen our democratic governance. In fact, they're further deepening in it to become a one-man affair. So that is the challenge we are facing right now.
Your initial reaction? Just hours ago, the president signed the 2026 Electoral Amendment Bill into law, less than 24 hours after the commotion we saw in the National Assembly, particularly in the House of Representatives, with minority members staging a protest against what played out yesterday, but also with so many unanswered questions about whether Nigerians are on board with what is contained in this new act. What is your takeaway from the signing itself and what this represents for Nigeria's elections going forward?
I doubt if the president had the opportunity to go through the clause-by-clause provision, including the fact that, the numbers of days, for INEC to prepare for conduct of election has been reduced, including the fact that political party preparation to submit their Form EC9 and for EC9B, has been reduced to 120 days from 180 days. All of these reduction of numbers and all that had extra implication. Those implications is that it will give pressure on the political parties and put pressure on the commission to be able to put all these things together. And this already signed law, it does not have the force, to be able to, give proper security to our electoral process. For the president to have signed it within 25 hours, we have seen laws, provisions that the president have abandoned for a long time. This shows that, from my own perspective, and allegedly with what people are saying, is that this plot to resign most of the ambitious provisions and these provisions that would have helped Nigerian democracy to work in line with the interest of the people was totally planned by the executive and the judiciary together. They were in cohort, because there's nothing anybody can tell me. The president never talked about this issue where Nigerians were protesting. The president never, the insensitivity, the lack of communication to be able to tell our people, you are protesting, I think we are going to see what we do about it. There was no utter word from him, and only for him to sign it and be explaining how real-time electronic transmission work. I think the president does not understand what people were asking for. People were not really real-time electronic transmission, were just a cash phrase to be able to. What people want is a mandatory electronic transmission of elections, from EC8A. And one of the mistakes that some people like the president is trying to mislead the people and the National Assembly is the fact that they are saying that we have there was a report in 2018 where I was also part of the process that the Nigeria has 93% penetration on internet in most of the polling units. So if you look at 2018 till now, with now Nigerians laying fiber optic cables everywhere, and you're saying we cannot do some of these things. And for the beavers works both online and offline. I was in the last election. You can just snap, upload, and go. The only thing why you need to upload at the polling unit is that it makes sure that the returning officer cannot retrieve what has been uploaded until network comes and it automatically uploads by itself. So we have a challenge with this new law, especially the fact that Section 60, subsection 3 is not, it has not been given the force of law. By tying it to a caveat, this caveat not only continue to give life to the existing historical vulnerabilities that have undermined our elections, like alteration of result, kidnapping of the coalition center, forceful announcement of result, and rewriting of electoral result that have been signed by agents of political party. So that is what we were trying to cure, and all the progress we've made from card reader to beavers to IRF has all been thrown into the dustbin. All the historical issues that we have been reawoken and given double-edged sword to continue to work in a way that the wishes of the people at the ballot will not be protected. And I think the APC, applying their tyranny of majority at the National Assembly, have decided to do what is not in the interest of the people.
So when the president says, maybe we need to talk about our broadband coverage, and he expresses concerns about glitches or persistent attempts to hack the system, are you saying that those arguments do not hold water, or are you saying that it's not good enough in terms of what could be a challenge in 2027?
I think what the president is doing is that he's speaking for INEC. INEC is an independent body created by Section 133 of the Constitution. Even the Amoputa and the National Commission are enjoying their authority as attached to 155, so Section 1C. They're independent. They will get direct light charge for their resources. They have said they have the capacity to do it, that they have done transmission in all of the elections, including Anambra, and it was successful. They had never one day complained. In fact, it is INEC with critical stakeholders that have put up this reform to the National Assembly. So how do you come up and say, no, we don't have the internet infrastructure to be able to solve this problem? We do. And I know that the president is lying from the top tips of his tongue. That is not true. What they should say is that the APC government is unpopular. The APC government is not popular with the citizens of this country and the masses. And they are afraid of election that will represent the true instead of the people at the ballot. They are afraid of making sure that the vote of the people will count. That is only what I see from this. And there's nothing else, nothing more. Whatever they are saying is untongue-quoted stories in order to try to make Nigeria see whether there's a problem with our electoral system. There's no problem. The full government of our electoral process has been well drafted over the years. You can see how bitter Guinea is. All those who participated, including me, who have participated for years in trying to, see that our electoral environment represents our people's wishes, have been disappointed. And look, I've been here. We saw how the PDP was trying to, progress this process. We saw how they did it to the detriment of their own government. We saw how, if a government is popular, if a government works for the people, if a government sits there and not travel all the time and spend most of its time overseas and really look at the solutions of how people are suffering, how the out-of-pocket expenses are increased, how inflation are eating deep into the pocket of the ordinary people, let me tell you, the popular government will never resist such innovation, progressive innovation. Because what they are trying to do is that we continue to have election, this ritual that no longer have the force of law.
How does the current act give APC an advantage? I assume that's what you're alluding to. How does this act give them any advantage over ADC, PDP, or any other political party for that matter?
It keeps the coalition center alive. That keeps the coalition center alive.
But isn't the coalition center a necessary part of the process?
No, it's not necessary. There's not.
I mean, you want everybody to do their maths based on IREF?
Look, IREF does not tabulate. IREF is election viewing portal.
Right.
But what IREF does is security of ballot cast, security of vote recorded. That's what IREF does. And there's no way in the world where this collation center exists apart from what they are doing in Nigeria. What elections are, voters come to the polling unit. When you come to the polling unit, you have dual process for accreditation. You put your thumbprint on the beavers, your image comes out and your biometrics comes out. You go to the voter register, they look for your number, you sign in. That means you have dual accreditation process, which makes our election one of the, we give our election one of the key ingredients for security of voter. And then you go to where we now have a problem, was to have dual collation process. Nobody was going to do away with Form E8A or the form that will be filled for E8B. Nobody was going to do away with all this. What they are saying, this is Form E8A. Use the beavers and capture it in the real format as it is, in the raw format, and then upload it.
But this act doesn't change that.
They have changed that.
It says electronic transmission is there.
As far as you have tied it you have tied it to a caveat, and you have put a proviso to tie it to a non-failure of the system. You know the failure, the system is going to fail. The system is going to fail everywhere.
But is it also practical to assume that the system would never fail?
No,
because that is the argument that people like you are making, that the system has to work.
The system will work, and the system worked. Forget it.
Yeah, but if it works 9 times out of 10, isn't it worth it to
when our
consider
Secretary of the
1%?
Inter-Party Addressing Council, we heard where they were developing card reader out to Vivas. The engineer that was developing used to come to the meeting to brief the council, and that is the engineer Chirinwafo. And that briefing, I saw the capacity of the ICT department of INEC to deliver justice to our the credibility to our election. And when they started the demonstration, even in how they use the digital system to remove double registrant was wonderful, because before then people can have double registration, so the beavers would have worked to help us. We move from card reader. It was the court that killed the card reader. It is the same court that have killed the beavers, because what are you saying? In the 2023 Electoral Act, there are principal laws. Before, we used to see for election there are 3 principal laws. When you have the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and the guidelines and regulation for conduct of election 2022 as amended. But the Supreme Court, in its own wisdom that undermines our collective understanding, our collective interest, says that the guidelines and regulation for conduct of election put together by INEC, which is a subsidiary legislation, because INEC used to have this quasi-judicial power to make laws for regulation of his own processes and his own conduct, and that thing should have been put in the Electoral Act. So for that reason, that provision that ties it to that INEC, that brought that power to INEC, is not avoid. That's why INEC have decided, working with political parties, civil society and interested parties, to now transfer that what they have in their regulation and guidelines for conduct of election into the Electoral Act. Mandatory transmission of electoral result. Leave retime. Retime, it doesn't mean anything. Retime is the fact that if I'm in Sokoto, in PO, you 110, and I transmit the result, that time will be written there. It's not the same time with the retime of Lagos, of those polling units. So it's not a big deal. So, but it is the mandatory that, and it does not render the Form E8 physical copy useless, and it does not render it invalid. What is saying that if these members, if the returning officer have signed, the party agent have signed, and you capture it, anything that changes and it's not balanced with what has been captured, that means you have altered the result, which will give us a digital footprint for us to be able to manage our elections. They did not do anything in this whole Electoral Act that we have been talking about. The National Assembly is embarrassing. They're disrespecting our people, because it's a joke how they went around the whole zone, canvassing, discussing with Nigerians, asking Nigerians what kind of regulation, what kind of provision, what kind of amendment do they want. And Nigerians came out en masse from each of the zones and said they want mandatory electoral results, they want the election to be conducted in one day. None of these things were done.
But you saw what played out in the Nigerian Senate, for instance. 55 for, just 15 against. 39 absent or did not decide to participate in the voting process itself. Some would say that is democracy at play. Representatives of the same people that you allude to are the ones who get to decide. And that's the way we designed our democracy to function. So wouldn't you say that that is fair play, albeit an outcome that you don't agree with?
I agree with what you've said. But that's why I target the tyranny of the majority. Because the majority must also look at their power and look at the interests of the people. They don't look at their selfish interests. They don't look at their personal interests or how they will return back to the National Assembly through the back door. I'm not saying they don't have majority. Two-thirds. In fact, APC can muster two-thirds in the National Assembly. It is because of the betrayal of those who were elected in 2023. They betray the trust of the people. Because as of the time election was conducted in 2023, APC did not have two-thirds. But today, people have betrayed that because they believe in the old system of all these things that, look, we speak with our friends who are in the National Assembly. Every time you'll be hearing that they say, APC tell them, you are not coming. Are you sure there will be election? That's what they tell us. There's even a hot mark of the Akwa Ibom State governor when he said that, they will question the news station and send the person out, the crew out of the government house. When the hot mic caught what he was saying, that you are saying I should remain in PDP. What if I win election and they do not announce me? These are the palpable fear which APC orchestrated and created amongst elective officers who are cowards, who do not have the courage to stand their ground, just like the president did and stood his ground in Lagos and defended his party until he became a president. Because democracy cannot just survive when the people who are operators, who are managers of the democratic framework and the laws governing democracy does not have the interest of the people, to protect the interest of the people and to canvass for the interest of the people on the floor of the parliament.
So back to the president's points about glitches and hacking. Are you saying that those questions are not germane questions to us? Ergo, the need for us to have a backup plan if electronic transmission of result as option A doesn't work?
The president is just attempting to hide behind one finger that we will not see him. When Yar'Adua came to power in 2007, what did Yar'Adua do? He set up Justice to Way's panel and said the election that brought me was not transparent. So if the president knew all this while that there was glitches in INEC, what did the president do to unravel the true information behind the glitches? What did he do? Did he ever mention one day about glitches in today? Did he ever discuss it and say, look, glitches happen, and because of that, the trust of my mandate has now been doubted by majority of Nigeria. For that reason, I want the commission working with National Assembly, working with the other security agency to set up a board of inquiry to look at what happened and who attempted to undermine our elections. The president would have thought that we would have had respect for him today. He never did that. He's using that as a defense now so that he can justify the reason why they do not want electronic transfer of results. And we know the reason. They are unpopular. They are afraid of a transparent election because the masses will come for them on the ballot. If they are popular, I'm telling you, they'll put 13 clauses that is mandatory. They are unpopular. Nobody, everybody knows. Every child on the street knows this.
Right. Is there an upside to this? Because I understand that while a lot of the focus is on electronic transmission, there are so many other components in the act itself now that changes the game. Whether it's primaries, whether it's notification for the election, and all the other components around campaign financing and so on and so forth. Is there an upside to this new act, in your view?
All the changes they've done is for their personal interests. When we gave INEC 300 and something, this is for ample preparation. Because the full government of our elections is not just the day of election. It's from the date the date of election was announced. You have a pre, a during, and a post-election phases, up to the point that you have reverse logistical issues. And then you have, you talk about primaries for candidates to submit their forms of their candidate to INEC. They have reduced it to 120 days, for 180 days. Why?
Doesn't that fast-track the entire process?
No, why are you fast-tracking? The dates were already okay. You are fast-tracking and you are putting pressure on the system. And the implication is that the system will undergo all this chaos, all this confusion to be able to get it right again. You can't be learning all the time. You can't be progressing and be retrogressing at the same time.
You don't see this as time-saving, especially with all the litigations that usually come pre-election?
The litigation arises because, one, the internal process of the political party primaries are shaded in some kind of fraudulent processes. And then the elections are not transparent, they are not free, and they're not fair. So if you put mandatory electoral system, and people see that they were thoroughly defeated transparently, we will go to court. These are the issues. All these things we are saying, they are not touching the main thing that can cure the malfeasance and the sickness of the electoral system. You are going around, running around in cycle, and completely it has become a ritual that no longer have the force of law. So we cannot look at the historical vulnerabilities in our election, and then we do not want to solve those vulnerabilities, but we're interested in trying to do cosmetic treatment of the Electoral Act. It is only us. How long are we going to be having Electoral Act every 4 years? It doesn't even make sense to me. If you have just mandatory transmission of this Form E-C-8A as captured in real time, all these problems you are seeing will be cured.
Why are you making it sound like mandatory electronic transmission is a silver bullet that would cure all the irregularities in our electoral process? Is that the only problem?
I think from my experience, and I've been a practitioner, I've been an advocate, and somebody who has also sat on the table where these issues are discussed in INEC for many years. I think there are only 2 issues we can solve, 3 issues we can solve. One, you take, three, let's say 4, you unbundle the commission, reduce them of distress. Second, you do electronic transmission of electoral result. Third, you make sure all elections are conducted in one day. We're running up to 1 trillion naira to conduct election. If you conduct all elections in one day, I'm telling you, our cost will not be on 400 billion.
You're saying logistically we can do that?
You can do it. It's the same ballot. It's the same truck. When you have, one thing people don't understand, people think if you have 90 political parties, you print more ballot papers. No. Our ballot papers are printed based on numbers of registered voters. So if we have 91 million voters today, that is the number of ballot papers that will be printed. So we do the same logistical issues, the same truck that will carry them, the same thing that will carry them, only that you will give 4 ballots to one person. And the people who can fill this ballot, these 3 ballots, can also fill the other 2 that are there, the 5 ballots. So I think it's the lack of interest. That's it. The issue is that those who have had power for a long time, they continue to look at loopholes to create chaos, and in this chaos, they manifest their irregularities that will eventually return them back to power.
Someone from the APC or someone who supports the administration, who thinks the president acted in good faith in all of this process, would say there is no pleasing people like Chief Peter Ameh. There's no pleasing people in the opposition. You give them what they want and they can only ask for more. It's like the Oliver Twist mentality that you ask for electronic transmission, the National Assembly gave it, albeit with a caveat. Is this one of those situations where half bread is not better than none?
What's the difference between 6 and half a dozen? They've not given us, they've not given us.
But it is there.
No, it's not there. It's not there. Whatever that has been there, the proviso and the caveat that is added, tying it to those on this and create further vulnerabilities. Because you are going to have the returning officers who will tell you he controls the machine and say there's no network I can upload. And if you can't upload, he will take it to the collection.
Isn't that what agents are for? To confirm that there is actually no signal for transmission.
Agent can't do anything as long as the person who is returning says.
Well, they have to sign, don't they?
If they have to sign on the Form E-C-8A, they are not signing on the beavers.
Right.
Yeah, so the beavers is controlled by those who have been brought.
But I suppose, as you know, agents are also perform some sort of monitoring and supervisory role of the entire process itself.
Agent can do beyond what those. INEC is both a regulator, a registrar of political party, and the principal body responsible for the conduct of our election. So it's not something you can. There's a way you go about it. The security men there will carry you and say you are interfering with the peaceful conduct of election, but you have to make the law clear. You have to make it clear. The law should be clear enough for us to have credible elections. It's not about pleasing the opposition. For me, I believe the opposition has been so lenient, the opposition has been so, democratic, and they are following democratic tenets like, just speaking on TV, writing newsletters. If they have followed the tactics of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu opposition, where you look at the kind of thing Lai Ahmed was releasing, and some of them today are contradicting, the APC is doing the opposite. And you look at how Ojota was taken over by protests, then you know that the opposition is not doing enough to hold this government accountable. The opposition must wake up from its slumber and its complacency and try to make sure that they mobilize massively to put this government in check.
Isn't that what Mr. Peter Obi did? Isn't that what Rotimi Amechi did during the National Assembly protest?
There must be concerted efforts. They must be united. We can't have this separate. Obi started it well. Obi did it well. There's no doubt about it. He went there first, mobilized people. But I think that we must have a rock-solid opposition consultation coming together and say, no, enough is enough with this government. This is only government in the history of Nigeria that travel as will not hand over to his vice president and calculate the days, maybe one day before the expiration of his stay now, he will come back and then calculate another 1 week again and go and visit us and then visit the France. It's because of the weakness of the, look, democracy is not only in the hands of people who are elected. Democracy itself is in the hands of the people, the masses. And that's why you have, even in social sciences, when you do social study, they'll tell you what are the instruments that you can be used to hold government in power. They'll tell you peaceful protest. Protest is key. But the reason why we're not getting results is that our protest is peaceful, but it's not a mass protest.
Is that because the masses are not buying into the idea?
The masses
don't share the same sentiment with the opposition?
The masses are disillusioned. They are disenchanted and they are disconnected from the current problem, because some of the masses, when you talk to them, say, no mind, they go just rig the election. And that is the narrative that the APC is proving with their tyranny of majority in the National Assembly.
Some would say, Chief, maybe the opposition is just uninspiring, so much so that they cannot move Nigerians to hit the streets.
There are a lot of opposition figures that the people love. And I think that they must look at their system, and because they are so peaceful, and reduce something else that can change the course of our democracy. The National Assembly, those who were elected, first of all, failed the people. The people protested in 2023. They did. Look at the numbers of people that was elected in the opposition. Kwankwaso came with his party, NNPP, a new party. They won Kano, one seat of House of Rep, one senator with them in Kano. Peter Obi came, one House of Reps everywhere, one senators everywhere. You have other parties like ADP winning senator in Plateau. You have other parties winning. So the people have done their own job. It is just unfortunate that at the time the people put so much energy in making sure that they balance the National Assembly, they went and elect those who will go to bed with the party in power, who will not respect how they came into power. That is just the unfortunate thing that but the citizens should not give up. Because democracy is not a one-day affair, the struggle, because internal vigilance is the price you pay for liberty. So what the people should do is to continue to engage the process and continue to participate in the electoral process, even look for a way to contest for election and make sure that they vote. And the people should not be indifferent to just see their responsibility as going to cast their vote. Their responsibility also means to enthrone good governance. They must cast their vote, and ensure that their vote is counted. There's no way those in power will be in the majority. Those in power are in the minority. The people outside power, who are the masses, who are the suffering people of this country, where there's no provision of electricity, there's no provision of infrastructure that will help the people to have a robust system of living, should go to the polling unit en masse and make sure that they cast their vote and stop being indifferent to the process and make sure that their vote is counted. You will see that any security agency that is coming to say it will play to the whims and caprices of those in power, we know that the people have risen. Nowhere in the world democracy survive without the people. Without the people standing up. Nowhere in the world.
So at first, the argument was that the National Assembly was taking too much time, and this bill needed to pass as soon as possible so that INEC can have something to work with ahead of 2027. Then the chaos ensued, the coal controversy and everything we saw play out last week and this week. And now the president, in less than 24 hours after they harmonized the bill, signed it into law. Is there a part of this where you think that the APC has given something to Nigerians, and maybe just that something in the 2026 Electoral Act is good enough to guarantee some level of improvement in the next election?
Politics, democracy is about choice. It's built on choice, freedom of choice. Now, even for that choice, they have removed indirect primaries. They've made it a direct and consensus. You understand? So it is not your responsibility to micromanage the system. Because political
Isn't
parties...
that a good thing?
No, political parties have constitution.
Right.
You can. We are not
they get the powers to do that from the constitution.
Yes,
itself.
we are not in a military regime when you foreclose the right of political party to take decisions for themselves. You are not in a military regime.
Is there anything anti-democratic about direct consensus?
It is over-regulated. If my party feel, for instance, that we want indirect primaries, where delegates can come and elect their people, because of cost-cutting measures, and because we do not have the money to dip into public offers and take it and run the party. We should be allowed to do that.
But if you have to consider the bigger picture, Chief, you would agree that some would say, listen, this is one way to get all party members involved in the process. Because the question has always been that delegates are up for sale. And that's
delegates
why...
are up for sale. Even the process of running the direct primaries is, when you want to run it for presidential election, is even more easier to rig. Where is the infrastructure for the political parties? So it's going to be too costly for many political parties to have their people in each of the ward across Nigeria to cast their vote. And where's the infrastructure? When the SDP and the NRC was being built, the government built secretariat for them across Nigeria. Political parties don't enjoy public financing. They have to get the money from the poor suffering Nigerians who contribute 100 naira as membership dues. So you should allow parties to have choice. I don't believe you should just restrict everything. What we want to be regulated is not that you regulate, the whole full system. You should allow some level of decision to be made by the organs of the political party, either from the ward level, state working committee, national working committee, and national executive council. So you can't just, do this and then put a close to their ability to try to manage costs based on the budget of their party.
In the final analysis, is the 2026 Electoral Act an improvement on 2022 Electoral Act, or is it a step backwards?
No, it is. We were progressing in error.
Progressing in error. Help me understand what that means.
Yes, there have been a lot of progress, a lot of consultation, a lot of moving around, but the law, the more it tends to change, the more it remains the same, and it will get worse because what we have in the Electoral Act gives INEC the discretion to make regulation as regards the electronic transmission. That's what we have in section 60 of section 5 of the 2022 Electoral Act. Section 60 of section 3 today, what we wanted was to improve on that and take, because of the Supreme Court pronouncement that says INEC regulation does not have cannot override the principal law. So what would have won today is for what INEC has put in their regulation and guideline to be transferred into the Electoral Act.
They say when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? Is this good enough to make some lemonade out of it? And that's why I'm asking if this is an improvement on 2022.
No, it's not. I said we're progressing in error. There's nothing. We progressed.
I think that's a negative at the end of the day.
It's just what I'm saying now. You take one step forward and 3,000 steps backward is what we've done with this. But the hope we have is that Nigerians is seen through their shenanigans, through their attempt to eject power, by making sure that laws are made to undermine our democratic governance. Because democracy, I'll tell you, is built on election. Election is what, and that election must come with that transparency to give it the winners legitimacy. Because what most people carry around today, and that's why the president has suffered with, from the issue of mandate without legitimacy. Because it's only in Nigeria today that you find out that when somebody is declared winner, the whole country, entire country, go into mourning. The person who lost, who they have claimed to have lost, is the one people are mourning for and feeling sad. But the one who won, you will not see celebration across Nigeria. That alone shows you our elections are rigged. Because if a man wins the election, the kind of excitement you will see on the street of this country will be so enormous that you will see it clearly that this person is popular and Nigerians have voted for you. Not that you are declared winner and you find out that almost everybody is having hypertension. People are going for medical checkup. People can't eat. People can't sleep. Then it shows that these elections are not representing their true purpose. So for us to get it right, these laws were not made for the interest of the people. This law did not listen to the cries and yearnings of our people, and this law does not represent the general feeling of the people to have a law that without ambiguity, that is clear and straightforward about you cast your vote, is recorded from the EC8A, the returning officer sign, countersigned by agents of political party, put the Form EC8 on the table, use the beavers and capture it, and let it upload to the IRF. Election viewing portal, they call it. And it's enough. We don't even want the election viewing portal to be a tallying portal. People talk about hacking. You can't hack our election because we are not doing real-time.
You can't hack the election.
No.
Because the results are not online, or what are you saying?
The results are online, but the results are not being computed as in figures 32, 44. No, it is almost in a PDF format that you can't alter after it has been uploaded. You can't. That's why I think today the ones that are written in Obi Akpo and uttered is still on the IRF. You can't change it. Because we are not the one hosting this thing. We are hosting it with Amazon. And one thing you know, that's why we do not believe glitches happen. We believe that this thing was deliberately done from the inside to undermine to undermine the election. And I see it as an overreach of those who manage our electoral system. It's because Amazon will always report anytime there's a downsize on their server. Because we are hosting this thing with somewhere. They will always have a report, a certificate for that glitch. We do not have a certificate for.
So you don't believe
glitch.
there is any need for Plan B when it comes to our election result management?
We have Plan A and Plan B. I told you here now. What our election is Plan A and Plan B.
No, I'm talking about in terms of transmitting the election result. So when you say compulsory, for instance, you're saying there is no way it could fail.
No. When you say mandatory, is that there's already a Plan A now, which is from EC8A. So if it fails, you come back to from EC8A. We're just.
Well, isn't that what you have with the current act?
No. What they have in the current electoral act is that a non-system failure. They are expecting the system to fail. It is a law.
Which is a logical conclusion, isn't it?
I'm telling you, it's not logical. What we should have is that mandatory transmission. Nothing else, nothing more. That mandatory transmission, because the beavers work both offline and online, is enough for us to secure our mandate and secure the mandate of the people.
What do you think is left now for Nigerians who are disappointed, dissatisfied with the entire process? I mean, surely the majority has had its way. The minority is having its say. What's left? I mean, if this is what we have to go with now, how do you see this whole thing playing out then?
I'm begging Nigerian citizens, don't be disengaged from the process. Don't give up. Democracy is a process. It's not a one-night war thing. You follow it until you defeat the system. You defeated the system in 2023. Clearly, the system was defeated. That's why you find out results in Lagos were clear. Since 1999, they were defeated in Lagos by Labour Party. They were defeated in Port Harcourt. They were defeated in Abuja. So the people can do it. What the people need to do is that, they have brazenly disrespected us. They have shown that our voice don't matter. Can we mobilize on election day and stop being indifferent to vote counting? We cast our vote and also secure that vote and make sure the vote counts. The people are in the majority. I say it anytime. I was at the polling unit in my local government in 2023. The security agency couldn't do anything because we mobilized heavily and were there. Yes, they virtually rigged the election because we couldn't get in. But a statement was made. And because some of us did not know that those people will go that extreme. So today we know they will go extreme like what they did in 2023. So we should be prepared for the extreme measures of protecting our vote and defending it. Like they said, if they don't count the vote, we count the people.
Explain that to me.
Well, you just count the people. The people should be counted.
What does that even mean? Count the people?
No, eternal vigil. The people will be there now. You 1, 2, 3. You count the people who are there.
It sounds like a veiled threat.
No, it's not a threat. It's not a threat. The counting is not a threat. I went to school. You went to school. It was counting.
I think it's a street language.
No, it's counting the threat in your own studies.
I mean, it's like saying hand will touch somebody.
No,
we both know that
even if you say hand will touch somebody, it's not still a threat.
I think it's a threat.
No, it's not a threat. If my hand touches you now, it's a threat.
I mean, literally, it means one thing, but we all know practically it means something else.
No, but you are just reading your own mind. For me, what I say is just to count.
I suppose we understand, what each other is saying. But let's handicap the situation now and talk about what is obviously the next chapter, which is the elections themselves. You spoke, last time you were on here, you spoke highly of Professor Joash Amopiton, your expectations of him, and the challenges that lie ahead. Why doesn't that confidence translate to him applying this new law to the best of his ability and give Nigerians what they deserve, what they've been yearning for, a free, fair, and credible election?
I have years in the commission. As of 2 days, yesterday and yesterday, I didn't speak with Amopitan, and I heard him call a meeting. I have years inside the, I attend meeting a lot for years. And
you should be careful about saying you have ears, because
I hear things, somehow, and right. He was strictly warning all the people in the meeting that he wants this election to be, a test that people will see that he is ready to conduct free and fair election. That's what he said. He said it very, very frankly, and he had several meetings to say that, to make sure that, look, don't disgrace me, don't embarrass me. And I'm saying that why I haven't confidence in him is because the man is a legal luminary, a legal giant. You know, he's sick, and you know, of all material, he's qualified to understand the law. And I think he wants to also write a name in the history of time. He should be able to conduct elections and then do his best. But I don't think the total transparency, the success of our election totally lie on Joash. I don't think so. Because we have over 179,000 polling units. Check the number. It's not going to be everywhere.
He's the chief returning officer.
Chief returning officer when the returns have been made from the polling unit.
I mean, if you don't trust INEC, you don't trust the law, what can deliver credible elections then? I mean, if it's not the INEC chairman, then who else?
We want the right law. The right law will protect the people. Stop looking at...
I mean, laws are just text on a piece of paper, isn't it?
When the laws are right, when they are not ambiguous, when they don't create loopholes, when they don't, they are not tied to a caveat, when they don't, you know, strengthen vulnerabilities, then the law will stand. What we are doing is that we are creating loopholes so that the old tactics that has been used to undermine these elections will continue to exist. So that's why people, like a giant and very senior people, are asking for mandatory transmission because they know it will work.
This coming weekend, the FCT Council polls will be conducted, and INEC was very clear, saying, listen, no real-time uploading of results will take place. There's no guarantee of that happening. And some would say this is, albeit a very small one, a litmus test for Professor Joash Amopitan's leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The first one I believe that he's going to oversee. The stakes are high, obviously, because this is the Federal Capital Territory. We've seen Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, many opposition figures campaign for ADC candidates, the FCT minister, the governor of Kwara State campaigning for the APC candidates. What do you think, realistically, in terms of what could play out this Saturday is going to look like? And should the rest of the country pay any attention at all to the FCT Council polls?
They have to, because, you know, the FCT council polls, the area council, there are 6 of them. There's about 62 councillors and 6 area council chairmen with their tie with their vice chair, which are all in total seat to be contested is about 68. And 16 political parties are filling candidates. About 572 candidates will be filled by 16 political parties. And if you look at FCT area council, they are not in the same position legally in the constitution as local government in Nigeria. They are not, you know, listed as part of the 774 local government in Nigeria. So they are in the special status of their own. So what happens is that there are federal elections too, conducted by INEC, and we need to be able to look at it. The local government election, APC brought over how many governors? Because of what happened to them here in 2023, how they lost massively. So they are trying to look for every way. They can bring anybody, any of their committee, you know, to run a local government election, a local council election. But what we want, we do not want them to interfere. We do not want them to use their, you know, their authority within the corridor of power to undermine the electoral process. What we want is for them to allow the FCT residents who are, you know, they are among one of the capitals in this country, that their voters are very intelligent. Their voters understand the issues that have plagued our economy. They understand the issues that have plagued our governance system in this country. So they are different from the rural voters in my community that have to, you know, may probably vote based on somebody gave a t-shirt, somebody gave a wrapper. You can't do all that here. And in some cases, you might buy vote maybe in other area council, but in IMAC, I don't see which side you are going to bring out money, maybe in Maitama, in Wuse 2, in Garki, in Apo, to say people should come and sell their vote. So what we want is that people will go to cast their vote. People should do what they did in 2023 in the FCT, casting their vote and waiting behind for the candidate of their choice to be announced in each of the polling units or defeated in each of the polling units, and then come to their own summary if they are won or not. That's what, you know, happened in the last Ghana election. The vice president who was contesting against John Mahama said, and I heard him and I quote, he said, when they were tabulating the results in their situation room, they discovered that they have lost. So that is how election should be. To be so transparent that those losers will be happy that this is what had happened. They were not elected by the people. But when you see this level of aggression and anger and disappointment from losers, it's because they do not even know whether they lost or have won. You understand what I'm saying? Because of how those corner issues that wayo twist that come into overnight calculation at the collation center, it tends to undermine the will of the people. So what we want on Saturday is that those who will go to the polls, APC has been in charge. They have the area council who was elected on PDP platform, who have defected to their party and contesting today. If they have delivered for the people will say yes. If they have not delivered for the people will say no. So, but they should not use any form of state system or state structure to be able to when I mean state, I mean federal might, to be able to drive their victory through the ballot. They should allow the people to decide, and that is the true sense of democracy. Yes, there's no retransmission, but there will be people at the polling unit, any opposition or anybody contesting election today, putting his money into election and cannot man each of the polling unit to determine, to make sure that they get a copy of the Form ECA, it will be a total waste of time, because I do not trust that the APC has the intent to do what is right when it comes to election. They believe in power. They believe in power without legitimacy. They believe in power without delivering for the people. They believe in power just for the sake of having power.
And do you think, as I did ask earlier, that because of how high the stakes are, because this is the Federal Capital Territory, that it's a zero-sum game where maybe, just maybe, whoever wins could set the tone for what's to come in 2027, whether it's the APC or the ADC? I mean, presumably because they have the biggest candidates in the race.
No, the Labour Party have no candidate because of the issues they had. And so it's ADC, Dr. Moses Paul, and then the PDP, the APC, because the PDP too were not on the ballot. And the APC, then there's the other parties that are contesting. But yes, it's a zero-sum game, but the way they are looking at it from, perception itself also dictates reality. So because they lost last time, I'm telling you that they are looking at trying to score a cheap political point, and that will lead to desperation, in them trying to win at all costs. But that is not good for them, because people will still see through whatever ojoro they play to declare a winner. So they should be able to canvass between now and tomorrow and Friday, canvass enough to let the people understand that they need them. But because we're not seeing them canvassing, I'm not seeing them anywhere campaigning. I'm not seeing robust.
Is it because you're busy campaigning for your own side?
No, I'm not campaigning. I'm in Labour Party,
right.
And there's no, we don't have a candidate. I'm not going around campaigning, but I know that other people are campaigning. I've seen Dr. Moses Paul campaign. I've seen the ADC campaign. So I
mean, it's safe to say your body is still in Labour Party, but we know your spirit is with the ADC.
No, I mean, I've always been a member of Labour Party for a very long time. I've always been for a very long time.
And you full body, mind,
and soul. I have a template that I can rely on.
Right.
So I believe in social democratic justice.
Right.
And there's some social democracy, a party that will work for the people, a party that will promote social justice and social, inclusivity driven process that will help the masses see, enjoy the benefit of governance. That's my motto. And that's why I always...
You do have friends in ADC, don't you?
I have a lot of friends in our political party. A lot of them.
I'm asking, particularly ADC.
I do. I know where you're going to, but there's no need for you to do that.
Right. Okay. I'm going to have to leave it here for now. Chief Peter Ameh, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for the analysis. Good to see you again.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for stopping by.
To be with you. You're so brilliant.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's see where this one goes. The Electoral Act is finally here, and of course, the opinions are divided, as you can imagine. That's our show for you tonight. Thank you most kindly for joining us on Daily Politics. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. Until next time, I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for joining us.